Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Married Sisters Talk Show. I am your host, Becca Wilson. This show was created to deal with topics and issues that women are facing today. Whether you are married, single, widowed, or divorced, this show is for every sister. Please be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and every Tuesday on our Married Sisters YouTube channel at 12 noon. If you like our show, please subscribe, like, and share.
We are sisters, married sisters, living our best lives, being blessed wives with our misters. We are sisters, we are married sisters.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Married Sisters Talk Show. I am your host, Becca Wilson. This is a very special edition today. I'm featuring power couples here in the Indianapolis, Indiana area. My first dynamic, powerful couple that I have with me today is no other than Pastor Henry and Lady Joy McMullen. I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's an honor.
Thank you. They're going to be sharing their story from tragedy to triumph, blending families, and just relationships in general.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm just so glad to have them today. And again, I want to say welcome. And I want to say just right up front, I think you guys are just such a beautiful couple.
Thank you.
They're so beautiful, and I'm not just saying that. You guys are really a beautiful couple. Your spirit is a humble spirit, and you feel that when you're around them. And I think that is so important to remain humble.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely.
So I have Pastor Henry and Lady Joy McMullen, and they are the senior pastors of New Birth Fellowship Church in Indianapolis, Indiana. And they've been married 10 years, right? 10 years, 6 beautiful children.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Ooh, they got a story to tell. I'm waiting to get on this story. And they are also co-founders of Being Renewed.
Be renewed.
Be Renewed and Pretty Girls Preach.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to be talking about Pastor Henry's book. As you can see, it says, "It hurts, but it is necessary." Standing strong when God seems silent. And so Pastor Henry is just going to walk us through the process of what birthed him to get to writing this book. And they're going to just tell their story, because I think it's still so important to share the stories. You see beautiful couples and you often wonder how they got to where they are. And it's so hard sometimes for people to want to be transparent, and they're kind of vague in what they've gone through. But we like to hear the transparency, the truth of what happened, the process of what got you to writing this book. And I do understand that Pastor Henry at one point had a very significant loss in his life. And they were just back to back. And so from tragedy to triumph to finding love again, that is the story we want to hear and share today. Yeah. So Pastor Henry, just tell me an overview about your book.
Again, let me first say on the onset that I am so very honored and elated for this opportunity to be on your talk show. I'm a huge fan, and so
thank you.
Mama, I made it. I'm here at Becca Wilson's talk show, and I'm so very elated about that. Again, as it relates to the book, the title of the book, It Hurts. It hurts, but it's necessary, standing strong when God seems silent. And the truth of the matter is really, a quick synopsis is that really the main theme of the book, about hurt. I dealt with, as you previously stated, some significant losses in 2008. In April, I suffered the loss of my baby sister, Clara. And then on Halloween, October of the same year, I lost my mother. And then fast forward to 2009, it was in September when my wife at the time, Felicia, God rest her soul, she was complaining about some pain in her abdomen. I took her to the hospital to later discover that she had ovarian cancer. And in short, I took her to the hospital September the 16th, and she never left the hospital. She stayed there until her untimely death on January the 1st of 2010. So I literally entered the first day of a new year. I entered that year as a widower, 30 years old. And I went from being a happily married family man to now a single father. And the truth of the matter is, I was just hurt. I mean, I was really, really hurt. I could not understand what was taking place in my life at the time, you know. And I was at a place where my faith was challenged, you know, because, you know, I was always taught and reared in a Christian home that the Lord loves you, and if you do right by the Lord will take care of you. And here I am as a young man trying to preach the gospel and teach the gospel and share my faith. I just had a hard time reconciling why the Lord would allow me to go through so much hurt. And I remember I was sitting in my home, and not only did I lose those 3 significant people in my life, but financial hardships backed me in a corner. I foreclosed on my home, and I had to move out of my brand new home that I had built. And so I'm sitting in the house, and I'm looking at my life packed away in boxes. And I remember I was getting up to get ready to put the boxes in the moving truck, and it's like my knees buckled, Becca, and I just fell to the ground, and I just cried out to God. I said, Lord, I just can't take anymore. What is going on? And I specifically and vividly remember the Lord saying to me, it hurts, but it's necessary. And I didn't understand what that meant at the time, because I was thinking, my rationale was, why was it necessary to take my sister? Why was it necessary to take my mother? Why was it necessary to take my wife? But God later helped me to understand that it is these hurtful situations that take place in life. They are not designed, watch this, to destroy you. They are designed to direct you to that place of destiny that God has for you. And so when you suffer so many losses, you know, you gain an experience that few people have. And I'm proud to say now, you know, through that hurt, that was 2010, you know, fast forward, you know, some 11 years later, you know, the Lord has restored everything. I am married. And I remember a funny story when I first started talking to Joy. I heard the Lord say to me, you know, in that hurtful period, hold on, joy is around the corner. And I remember when I finally connected with her and we set up our first date, I said, hey, let's have a family date. You have children, I have a son. Let's go have a family date. And she said, I'm open to that. And I said, well, look, I live on 91st and Allisonville Road. I can come pick you up. Do you know where that is? And she said, I know where it is. I'm right around the corner. And I realized then that it was the Lord. And so in the book, It Hurts, But It's Necessary, the book pretty much walks us through different characters in the Bible that have had to undergo a style of hurt that I think mirrors the hurts that we deal in life, and able to look through their stories, how they were able to overcome that hurt, and to give us a roadmap to help us understand that while these situations do hurt, if it went any other way, we would never get to the place, you know, and it's pretty much, it finds its root in Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and to them that are called according to his purpose.
That was a lot. Take us back, Pastor Henry, take us back. You said it was the eve of your 29th birthday that you lost your sister, Clara. And were you pastoring during this time? Or
not as a senior pastor. I was the youth pastor at the church that I was attending to at the time. So I was the youth pastor, youth director. And it was crazy because on that day, it was a Sunday, and I had all my family over. And it was kind of it was kind of a mourning and a celebration at the same time, because we were kind of celebrating my birthday, but then mourning the fact that we were going to have to bury my sister the very next day. So it was rough.
Wow. And it was Clara, and I met Clara. I remember Clara. We go way back,
We do.
and I'm trying to remember the age, perhaps, that I met, that we had met. I don't know. If it was like 10.
Yeah. I was little, young.
And I just remember Pastor Henry on the front row in front of his beautiful mom playing the bongos.
Yes,
that was his assignment.
Absolutely.
And so I remember, Claire, remember your mom. And now was Claire, because you said that was the first series of what you were about to walk through that you had no idea. Now, has she had been sick, or was that sudden for her?
Well, here's the thing. My sister Claire dealt with many medical setbacks throughout her life. When she was born, her lungs and her esophagus were joined together, so she couldn't swallow. And so she could not retain food, and she could not retain weight. And so throughout many different surgeries of her life, the doctors had gave her a life expectancy of 10, but she was able to defy those odds, and she lived until she was 33.
Hallelujah.
And
Praise
so
God.
the truth of the matter is, it was sudden from the standpoint that obviously after passing the 10-year threshold that they gave her, to then passing 20, to now passing 30, we just really felt like she was at a place where she was just going to be around, for a long length of time. And she got pneumonia, and pneumonia became trapped in her lungs, and that's what ultimately claimed her life. So it was really difficult because, Claire and I were the youngest of the 6 children, so we had always been very close. And so when I lost her, that was a profound death in my life, because she was really like my sister because we were just so close in age.
Right.
Like my BFF, so that hurt pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to imagine, but yeah, I definitely understand that. And then 6 months later, you had another significant loss. And it's that mother and son relationship is like no other, it seems like. And so tell us what happened when your mother had passed.
As you said, my relationship with my mother was very special. I'm the youngest of 6 children, so I was mama's baby boy. She took me everywhere, and I was, always with her, and so our relationship was very, very, very tight knit. What happened was, it was Halloween. I had an interview downtown, and so I had my son with me, Ray Shine, and my mother knew that she was going to be with her church. They were going to a fellowship church later that evening in Gary, Indiana. And so she said, look, I'm not going to be able to get over to see Ray Shine for Halloween. I won't be able to bring him over his little, his goodie bag. So can you bring him to the house so that I can see him? So I said, well, that works out. I have an interview. Is it okay if I just maybe drop him off? She said, yeah. So I took Ray Shine to my mom, and and he absolutely adored her, and she just loved Ray Shine. She was just over the moon, crazy about him. I went to my interview. I came back, and I vividly remember, pulling up to her apartment, and when I got there, Ray Shine ran out the house. He had 2 big bags of candy. Mama gave me candy, and I'm like,
hooked him up.
What's up with this? And she just smiled. She said, well, I'm not going to be able to see him because I've got church tonight. I said, well, I tell you what, Mom. When your church bus, because they were going to return to her church, Zion Tabernacle Apostolic Church, I said, when you get back in town, call me. I'll pick you up and I'll take you home. She said, I will do that. And so here's the thing. Later on that evening, I received the call. And it was actually a good friend of mine, my buddy Kendall. He had called my wife, and my wife coming up to the steps, and she said, Henry, what city did Mom go to for church tonight? And I said, she went to Gary, Indiana. She said, okay. I said, well, is she here? I can go pick her up. I told her I'd pick her up. She said, no, just lay back down. For some reason, Beck, it just felt strange. I'm like, why would she wake me up? I'm like, I thought I told you where she went. And so I got up and I came downstairs. I said, is Mama returned? I need to go pick her up. She said, Henry, we need to go get dressed and we need to go, go meet your father. And I thought that was a bit strange. Yeah. And so I got my clothes on and kind of got in the car, and I was just, sitting, not knowing what was going on. And I don't even know why I asked this question. I just looked at, my wife, and I said, hey, did my mother pass or something? Did she die?
Oh,
and
wow.
Her eyes just began to well up with tears. And she said, Henry, she said, your mom had a heart attack while she was in church. And she passed while she was in church. They were able to resuscitate her in the ambulance, but by the time she got to the hospital, she had coded and she had passed away. Oh, wow. And so imagine just, seeing your mother in great health and good spirits, and then, expectation is you're going to see her again, and then you get the call that she passed away. So that was
Wow.
pretty difficult.
Yes, yes. So you officiated
I did.
both of your sisters and your mothers?
I did.
I mean, what? That is just,
Some kind of strength.
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the strength, the undergirding of Holy Spirit to just, bring you through that. That, is just truly amazing in itself. Now, bring us to, how long later was it for your wife Felicia
So
at the time?
Yeah, so it was right inside of your mom died on Halloween, and so it was September. It wasn't quite a year before I started that journey with Felicia, and again, it was just another one of those situations quite similar to my sister. Felicia, she had cancer when she was 21 years old, and she had ovarian cancer. She had two tumors on her ovaries. One was the size of a grapefruit, and it ruptured.
Oh, my.
And when it ruptured, it's almost like an explosion of cancerous cells throughout her body.
Yes.
And so the doctors actually gave her 3 days to live. They didn't think she was going to come out of the hospital, but she lived. So by the time I met Felicia, she was 25. She was still in remission of that cancer. But again, the doctor said, within 5 years, if there's no traces of cancer, we declare her cancer-free.
Yes.
And so we got to that place, 5 years, no cancer. Then 10 years comes around, no cancer. We're celebrating like, wow.
Yeah.
And again, it was 2009. She was just complaining. It's like, my stomach hurts. It doesn't feel well. So we were living in Fishers at the time, and I took her. There was a St. Vincent Hospital out there in Fishers, and I took her to the hospital for some observations, and I'm sitting in a waiting room. And the doctor comes and tells me, your wife wants to speak to you. She's in the room. And when I walked in the room, it was really dark. And I saw tears coming out of her eyes. And I knew what she was about to tell me when I saw the tears come out of her eyes. So I went to her, and I said, hey, Alicia, I said, Fee is what I called her. I said, hey, Fee, what's going on? And she just kind of looked with a very... my God, a very overwhelmed, look. Her countenance was very, very dull, very tired. And she said, babe, they think he came back.
Say.
And I'm, declaring positive affirmations on her, declaring the word, no, I don't receive that. You will live and not die. And that was my firm conviction because, again, Beck, I'm thinking, I've already lost a sister. I've already lost a mother. Most certainly I'm not about to lose a wife. I don't believe that. I don't receive that.
Right.
And, so they found out that on her mass, she had this cancerous mass looked like a cluster of grapes. And so they scheduled her surgery date. And I took her out, and I will never forget that day. We were driving to the hospital, and Marvin Sapp's song, Praise Him in Advance, was on the radio. We were driving, and she was singing, and she was worshiping. And I remember they was prepping her for surgery, and I prayed with her. And when I opened my eyes, I saw that tear, in her eye. I kissed her. I said, okay, baby, I'll see you on the other side. And when I said, I'll see you on the other side, what I meant was, I'll see you on the other side of the hospital. I'll see you in recovery,
Yeah.
And there was something occurred in the hospital in her surgery. She had a reaction to whatever the medicine was that resulted into her having seizures, losing her brain activity.
Wow.
She was in a coma. She never came out of it.
Yeah.
And so they moved her, after 30 days of being in the ICU, they moved her to what is called an LTAC, a long-term acute care facility. These are for patients that have brain issues. They're trying to more so wake up. And so I would come to that hospital. St. Vincent Seton Hospital. I would come there every day, and I started putting pictures of us, me, her, and our son on the wall to hopes that somehow or another it might trigger something.
Yeah.
And I remember they did another biopsy. And what happened was when they did her surgery, they said we removed all of the cancer. It was just one little dot, probably the size of a pencil dot.
Wow.
That was there. But we're not worried about that. When she wakes up, we can take care of it. She never woke up. And so that dot materialized into cancer, took over her liver And I remember the doctor telling me, now you need to make a decision. Because, your wife is not going to leave this hospital alive.
Wow.
And so thus began the
Yeah.
hurt, but it's necessary journey.
Tell us about that. It's just like a ton of bricks just fell upon you. And so how did you begin to just process that? Because you had a son, right? And how did you talk to your son? How did you prepare him? I know during that time, because that's what we do, is what we're taught. Like you said, we get into that mode where we're going to declare the word and we're going to speak the word. And I don't see nothing else but, just speaking it in faith. And, but it was still God's, choice, for her to come home. But that process of when you sat there, how did you begin to just process that?
It was so overwhelming, because at 30 years old, you don't think about being a widower, initially it was shock. I remember being in the hospital and the doctor said, you need to make a decision. Are you going to resuscitate or not? And her sisters and her father were with me at the time. And I just said, could I just have a moment alone? So I remember the doctor put me in a little consultation room, and I was just there alone with my thoughts, and I was crying, and I was praying, and I was praying, and I was crying. And there was just a level of peace that came over me. And I told the doctor, I said, look, I don't want to resuscitate her. She's not living. And so, but I heard the Lord said, that you can keep her on oxygen, but this breath is temporary. Trust me to give her breath that is eternal.
My God.
And so once I knew that was going to happen, I told Rayshawn, hey, mommy's not coming back. And she died. He was 4 years old at the time.
Yeah.
But he understood to the degree that his mother was sick. And
Wow.
And at that point, just to be quite honest and transparent, listen to me, for those that are tuning, I'm a pastor and a preacher, so I preach the word, I teach the word. But this was the first time in my life where, I was challenged in my faith.
Yeah.
I was upset. I felt like God had let me down.
Yeah.
And I think until we are able, Becca, to have a true conversation of transparency with ourselves and with the Lord, I don't think you can really be healed. Because at that point, there was so much hurt that was built up into me that later that hurt became anger.
Yes,
Because I'm
anger.
like, there's no way, God, I can be preaching and praying for people to get their breakthroughs and get to their place of deliverance. All the while, I feel like you're embarrassing me because I'm telling people she's not going to die. I believe God. I'm coming to the hospital every day. We became so very popular at that hospital that, different people in the hospital would bring flowers. I didn't have to pay for food, and they were believing God with me. So when she died, I felt like, how can I go back in this hospital? I'm embarrassed because I thought this is what you were going to do. But again, like I said, at that time, you don't really understand what God is saying at the time, because I've said this before and I found this to be true. Where God is very strong in power, sometimes it seems like he's weak on details. He'll he will tell you what you will become, but he doesn't tell you the process of becoming.
Process, isn't that true?
And so, God said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this around. It hurts, but it's necessary. Joy's around the corner. But here's the thing. One day I was reading the Bible, and I was reading the Beatitudes, and it said this. It said, blessed are they that do mourn, for they shall be comforted. And then I coupled that with in Isaiah when he said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And what the Lord helped me to understand is that if I can get past my mourning, God will in return give me a new morning. And I think a lot of times people get stuck in the morning, that they're never able to see that light, And the title from the book came from, now Felicia at this time, she's passed, she's gone away. Rayshawn's 5 years old, he's about to go to kindergarten now. And again, Becca, I don't know anything about this. I'm a new father,
Right.
I went to starting for school. They said, does he have his shots? I'm like, what shots? He took a couple of shots in the gym. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, he's got to go get his shots. And so I took him to get his shots, and I was telling him, he said, Rayshawn's going to have to get 3 shots. And I said, Rayshawn, you're going to have to get some shots, buddy. It's going to hurt. And he saw that needle. He said, Daddy, I don't want that needle. But I had to explain to my son. I said, the reason why you're getting these shots is because guess what? You're not in preschool anymore. You've been elevated. You're going to a new level. And so I need you to take these shots. They're going to hurt. But after you get them, you're going to be a big boy because you're going to kindergarten. Then I told him, he said, Daddy, do I have to get the shots? Yes, you do. They're going to hurt. But then I told him this, I will hold you while you get the shots.
Yes.
And it was at that point the Lord said, just as you are holding your son, do know that I'm holding you. And son, you have graduated. This hurt has propelled you to the next level.
Yes.
And thus here we are 11 years later. I have a wife and a pastor at church, and I wrote a book that has afforded me the opportunity to share my story. But here's the thing, if my life went any other way, I wouldn't have had this path and wouldn't have had this platform. And honestly, would not be sitting here with you today on this show, sharing my story. So again, it was hurtful, but it was necessary because it has now allowed me to reach an audience. I can minister to those individuals that lost siblings. I can minister to someone that's lost, a mother. I can minister to someone that's lost a spouse. I can talk to that person that, that has, lost their home or had a car the night you went to sleep and woke up and it wasn't there, because that was my experience. And so, again, I thank God for it. My mother, God rest her soul, but she used to sing the lyrics to this song. And it says, I thank God for my mountains.
Yes.
I thank him for my valleys. I thank him for the storms that he's brought me through. Because if I never had a problem, I would not know that God could solve it, and I wouldn't know what faith in God can do. So that's really been my journey. It's been a faith walk. And I feel like I'm talking. This is your talk show, so I'm going to
That's okay. Hi again, this is Becca Wilson. I truly hope you have enjoyed our show today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, you be blessed and have a great day.